Well, today we have a rather interesting issue that I've never been able to show on the channel before because it's not something that happens very often. So what we have here is a 27-inch K7500, and what's happening is that it doesn't have any focus ability. So I want to show you here that we do have a completely working and functional K7500. No issues. And if I adjust the focus here, you can see that. Oh, hang on. I gotta get the right knob here. Okay, out of focus, in focus, and more like right there. So way out of focus, and then right about, oh, I'd say there's pretty good. So we have complete, full, perfect focus control, square image, good colors, no issues. But this is not the original neck board for this chassis. This is the original neck board for this chassis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this one with the original. This is the original one with this chassis. I'm going to show you what's happening because I did a full cap kit and reflow. This needed a new flyback. This is the original flyback, and you can see here that the case is cracked, but that's not the main problem. The main problem is this. So this thing exploded with extreme prejudice and, you know, killed the chassis. So this was sent to me. I'm gonna turn this off. This was sent to me by the arcade in Fort Smith, Arkansas, along with 5 other chassis, and the first 3 were K7000s that weren't very remarkable, didn't really need much, nothing really worth featuring on the channel. And then 3 K7500s. The first 7500, again, nothing remarkable, just needed caps and a reflow, worked fine, no big deal. Nothing worth really noting. The second one here with this exploded flyback, I thought maybe I can get lucky and just do a reflow cap kit flyback and have it work. Well, I did. I mean, I checked everything out. Power supply functioned. There weren't any bad components. Everything was fine. So I did the cap kit, the reflow, and the flyback, and it powered right up and worked. I thought, okay, great. But it was way out of focus. So I tried adjusting the focus. When I did, it was making all kinds of odd noises, and it would not focus to save its life. So I'm like, okay, something is wrong. So I thought, okay, it's possible that there's an issue with the neck board. So I swapped in this spare neck board I had, and perfect focus, no issues, glorious. So there's something wrong with this neck board. So I want to show you what's happening with this neck board. Then you can see. So we know that nothing needs adjusted. Right here, as we saw, it was perfect. So if we set the camera down here, I'll try to do this, you know, kind of relatively live here. So let's disconnect our ground, take our substitute neck board off, disconnect our focus wire and our ribbon cable. Now I need to desolder the G2 wire here. Okay, so now our substitute neck board is removed. As we can see, I'm going to set this aside. And now here is our original neck board. Going back in, first thing I think I want to do is solder this G2 wire, because it's going to be the easier to do with all this other stuff. I figured it'd fall over. It took 0.68 seconds for that to fall over. All right. So I want to solder this G2 wire on here. We'll see if this is going to be something that's easily accomplished. It never is, nope. Because it always tries to bend on you when you push it through. There we go. Okay, that's in enough for us to test here. Now we want ground wire, ribbon cable, and focus wire, wherever it snaked off to. Here it is. Okay. So that's all hooked up. We're back on. Okay, now look what's happening with the original neck board. I'm gonna turn this on. 1, 2, 3. don't know if you can hear that. Did it a couple times. It went whoop, whoop. And look at this. Look at this. We know the focus control does not need to be adjusted because it was perfectly in focus with this neck board. With the original neck board, it looks like this. And you know, I can adjust it back and forth, but it won't make it any good. It won't make it any better, I should say. From this point right here, as you see it, it either gets more out of focus or more out of focus, and it never gets in focus. This is the best that you get, just like this. And the reason for that, I am 100% positive the reason for that is a bad neck socket. I think when this thing destroyed itself with extreme prejudice, it sent voltage along the focus wire and damaged the plates. There's two metal plates inside this housing here that have a spark gap, and that's what really dials in your focus. And I think that got destroyed on this neck socket. Not this one, that one. This is the good one. So yeah, as you see here, this is as good as the focus gets. It will not get any better than this. And I think the neck socket is destroyed. So, I mean, I'll turn this. So we'll have to readjust it anyway. I'm going to turn this, oh, there we go. Focus, you'll see here that that's all the way to the left. As I turn to the right, that's 100% to the right. All the way to the right, about the middle, all the way to the left, middle, all the way right. So that's all the way 100%, and that's as good as you get. So we have no discernible, we have focus control, but it's not going into focus, and we know it's not the flyback or the chassis, and it's not the neck board itself. I think that it's a bad a bad socket here with the focus plates. I think they got zapped out or destroyed or something when this flyback died. So to test our hypothesis, we're going to remove this neck board and disassemble the neck socket, and do kind of an autopsy here on the neck socket and see what's going on with it. Maybe it's something that can be repaired. Easy for me to say. If not, I'll grab a spare neck socket from another board, a donor neck board that's not working, and we'll see if we can change out that neck socket and get this going, because that's with the focus 100%. If I turn it down to like 75 or so where it was before, right about there is 75 right there, and it's even worse. So yeah, we got to figure this out. I'm sure it's the neck socket, so let's get this off of here. I'm gonna turn it off. Get this off of here, get that neck socket removed, and let's do an autopsy on it, see what we can find inside of there. All right, so here we have the neck itself. Now looking in here inside the focus pin, the socket for the focus pin, that looks perfectly fine. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly normal. It's not splayed open or one side is bent open. I've seen that before, but that looks totally normal. So nothing's wrong with that. I think there's something internal in here. So inside of this thing, you can see how it's just kind of melted itself. If we look, this whole assembly here is melted from all that extra voltage that was leaking out of the flyback into this. Just destroyed this. Now there could be other faulty components, but I think what's happening here is that there's two pieces of metal in here with a gap, and the focus voltage, jumps that gap, and that's how that focus operates. But I think what's happened here is this has melted itself. If we use the other one here for comparison, you'll see this one is nice and flat and all that, and this one is all melted in there and disfigured. So I think that's what happened. Is I think inside of here we're going to find that it's just fallen apart. Now the question is, we're going to have to replace this anyway, so can we just destroy this trying to open it? I'll bet we can. because I want to show you what the inside of this looks like. If you've never seen the inside of this, it's a couple of metal wafers, and I don't want to damage anything else on this neck board trying to get this apart. We probably should just take it out. So yeah, probably should just take this thing out of here, because I'm not going to be able to get it apart without damaging other stuff, I'm sure. Yeah, let me just buzz this out real quick, and I'll come back and I'll have it out and we'll take another look at it. Alright, so now the neck socket is completely extricated from the main board, so we'll set the main board aside. Now, would you believe me if I told you that I have a giant basket here of spare neck boards and parts? So I went pouring through, and it just so happens that I've got a Neotech neck board here where I got that top piece already removed. And if we look, you can see these two metal electrodes here that I talked about. So the focus wire comes in and touches one of these, and it has a little spark gap, a little gap across here, and the voltage changes. So what'll happen is that voltage will jump this gap between these two leads here, and the voltage will change as you turn the focus pot. The voltage that jumps across here will change, and that's how see, this one leads up here across to your focus pin, and the other one here looks like it runs off ground. It's hard to say. But yeah, there's a gap that this jumps across. I don't know exactly how it functions, but that's the gist of it. And when the voltage changes that jumps across here, that's how your focus is adjusted. So I'm betting that inside of this thing is all just melted and burned, and you can see how deformed it is here and how discolored it is. I think inside of here we're going to find that plate is damaged or corroded or something. So let's see if we can pop this apart. And it just so happens that down inside of this basket of, I mean, it's literally a basket. I used to honestly keep my bills, I kept my bills in here on the desk, and over time I just started tossing these in there. But down on the bottom of that basket I found a replacement neck socket just chilling in the bottom of there. So it appears to be complete. The focus socket isn't splayed out or bent open, and all the pins look good here. So I'll probably just put this one back in place of this one. But before we do that, let's see if we can do the autopsy on this and get this apart. If I could find what I did with my tools here. Oh, it's over here. I carried it off yonder, and yonder it went. So this is just going to hinge up on here if I'm able to accomplish this. They like to, this should be all sealed up, so you shouldn't be able to just simply open it, because what'll happen is that voltage will escape out of here, and you'll hear it zap zap zap, tick tick tick. And you know, if you've ever got if you don't close this thing properly, or you don't have this seated all the way, or there's a giant gap in here, it'll tick tick tick, and you can hear that voltage escaping. And most of the time that's what that sound is, coming off the neck board like that. There's got to be an easy way to open this. It hinges right here, and it's all along here. I should be able to just pop this open, but with it being all burned, it may prove a little bit more difficult. I mean, we know what the problem is. I just want to open it up and see what it looks like in there. And it's proving more difficult than I expected it to be. But with these monitors, that's par for the course. I mean, what else would you expect? There we go. Try not to stab my hand here. I may do it before this is over. Open up there, you silly goose. Hey, there we go. Oh man, there's our problem. Look at that. As suspected. Dear Lord, that was cooking inside of there. That's what that one looks like. And here's what it's supposed to look like. So, yeah, as I suspected. So, this is going to need to be replaced something fierce. Not really any reason to even go much further. I want to see if I can pull these plates out of here. Most likely not. Maybe this one. No, these are like hard fused in there. He says as it comes right out. Wow. Well, there's your problem. I don't think I'm getting the other one out. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Yep, got it. Man, I need to start trying before I say it's not going to work. And there's your actual, that's what your focus pin goes into in the tube. But yeah, I would say that there's our problem. So, yep. I think this may be my, maybe I'll take a picture of this for the thumbnail. Does that sound like a plan? I think that sounds like a plan. Okay, let me take a picture of this real quick. Okay, so my picture has been taken, so we can kind of scrap all this stuff out of the way. And I've got the original neck board and the replacement socket that I had at the bottom of that basket. And we're going to put this one in and see if this helps us out. So let's get old girl in here. Actually, you know what? This may not work. Oh, no, it will. Okay. I was thinking this one was different somehow, but nope, that's the same one. Okay. All right, so we'll get this one here in there. That's important. The rest of these should line right up, and it just falls right in. But we're going to need to solder this little guy in here also. I think I should probably solder that guy on first. Might be easiest thing to do. Like... so... okay, he's on there. Now we'll try this again. There we go. Okay. So let's get one of these tacked in place here. We'll go with this one. Then we'll go with this one. And now we can get the rest of these in here. Okay. Don't want to miss one, got to get that one too. All right, well, let's clean it up. With some denatured alcohol. Okay.
squeaky clean. And I guess we are ready to try it out. So let's get it reinstalled on the main chassis. So there's two wires coming off the flyback. The thin wire, whenever you change the flyback out and you're hooking this back up, completely disregard the colors of the wires. The thin wire is always the G2 wire, and the thick wire is always the focus wire. So you see you have a thin wire and a thick wire. The thick wire is always your focus, and the thin wire is always G2. So don't go off color, go off the thickness of the wire. G2 is thin, focus is thick, you'll never mess it up. So we'll get our G2 wire back through the hole here. I mean, ideally you'd want to use a connector, but is that going to go through there this time? It should. And it doesn't. So let's just clear the hole out, because I'm tired of always having to mess with this. It gets frustrating after a while, but where is it? Right here. All right. Okay, quick and easy. All right, so let's try this again here. Right through. Okay. And we'll just solder it in place. There it is. Okay. Now our focus wire, we'll make sure that goes down in there properly. Yep. Hook it through the hook, because I don't ever see anybody actually hook it through the hook like you're supposed to. We'll get the little clamp back in. It's supposed to hinge, but it broke. And then we'll get our ribbon cable. And there we go. And I'm 100% positive that it will now function properly. So let's find out. Okay, all hooked back up. We got anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, video, remote. Always count to 7. Never fire up a chassis you've just put back on a tube without counting to 7, so you'd avoid forgetting to hook up a critical component. So we're all hooked up, ready to go. I also have, I like to mention every time, I got this little transistor here plugged in, because without this little transistor you won't have any width control. Your width image, you will not be able to adjust width with the remote board if you don't have this transistor installed. Now normally it's installed right there on the heatsink, but for some reason on the 7500 they mount it remotely. And someone changed the little base plate out and everything. And I mean, this is all original 7500 tube and frame, but I think at some point in the past someone changed out the main plate, which took this little holder thing with it that this normally mounts to, so it has to kind of be remotely mounted now. So it's okay to run it for a few minutes without having it attached to a heatsink or so. So should be all right. Anyway, let's find out if our focus is now good. I'm 100% positive that it is, and you know, we'll see what happens here. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, it comes right on, and let's just get a good baseline here. Okay, we are out of focus because we were messing with it, so let's adjust it here and see. Oh yeah, we're way too freaking bright though. That's brightness plot all the way down, so let's turn our flyback down. Not sure how this happened, but we'll go right there. Brightness, does that work now? Yep, okay. So we'll go right there with the brightness. And wow! Look at that. That is sharp and crisp. It wasn't sharp originally because we had it so bright, but okay, so there's all the way 100%. Back down to about 80. That's all the way left. Okay, that doesn't work. So roughly, that's all the way up, so back down to about right there. Flawless. Look at that. That's not a good example, but look, let's go. There you go. Right there. Perfect. This tube suffers. It needs to have the color balancing done to fix the perimeter, because the perimeter is somewhat out of focus. But like right here on the trademark, it's glorious. So there we go. Yeah, faulty neck socket, which we all saw and assumed that was the issue, but with that neck socket replaced, we are good to go. So let's actually just get a stagnant image on here. We'll start a game. There we go. So if we look right here in the middle, perfectly in focus. Fantastic. So, and we're not maxed out all the way to the right, like when these start going out, you'll have to max it all the way to the right. That internal focus resistor is going bad. So yes, we are good to go. So that was it. So you can see how up in the middle here, it's perfectly in focus, but around, as you get up around the edges, it's not so, like down here, see that? It needs some convergence work and some color balancing, because when you have a tube that's perfectly in focus here in the middle like this, but the perimeter's out of focus, then you need to do a color balancing to kind of bring that back, because you can see how bad this is up here. Look at that. I mean, this tube, that's why this is a test tube, because this whole assembly here is loose. If you look here, all the convergence rings are loose, and you can see where it kind of used to be sitting right there. So I got to go through and do all the convergence on this, but up here in the corners around the perimeter, look how out of focus that is. But in the middle, dead center, it's beautiful. So if you ever have a tube like that where it's out of focus around the outside but good in the middle, then you've got color balancing needs done, and you got convergence problems. But it's kind of outside the scope of this video. Anyway, so we had a bad neck socket that was preventing good focus. That's now repaired and solved. And there you go. And a good example of what to look for in that instance. You know, normally you'd think, okay, I have no focus control and things are going odd. It's likely a flyback. But in this instance, that wasn't the case. We had a bad neck socket. Now, of course, that led me to the neck socket because of this exploded, this mess right here. So it was kind of obvious to find the problem in this case. But if you got a flyback that's not exploded and you have no focus control, it just could simply mean that the flyback is the internal resistor here that regulates that focus voltage is going bad, out of tolerance. And that's usually what the case is. Or you've got a neck socket in the neck socket itself, the socket that goes on the focus pin is splayed out or bent or not touching, or the focus pin inside the neck itself is bent, are the three most common things: the socket being splayed open, the bent pin, or the focus resistor in the flyback simply going bad. So those are the three likely causes, but in this case it was something more severe due to this. So yeah, I appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.